Okay, our next speaker is Larry Ryan. He's right here. Larry Ryan, as you all know, is president of Ryan Lawn and Tree. Larry has a degree in forestry from the University of Montana. He has served on numerous boards, including Kansas State University's Ag Board, the Landscape Contracting Board at Oklahoma State, the Tree Board for Overland Park, Overland Park's Arboretum Board, and of course our Horticultural Sciences Advisory Board here at Johnson County Community College. And as you all know, Ryan Lawn and Tree ranks 76th on the top 100 list of landscape and maintenance companies in the US. They're the largest turf maintenance company in Kansas City, and Ryan specializes in turf and tree maintenance, irrigation installation, and maintenance. So, in addition to all this, Larry also serves as an adjunct prof at Johnson County Community College. Larry has been teaching Turf 1 to our students since last year. So today, indeed, Larry has no spare time, of course, but he uses, whatever time he has, he comes here to teach our students Turf 1 as well. So we are very honored to have him come here and teach, our students Turf 1. So, and next year he's going to teach Turf 2 as well. So, and today, Larry is going to talk about marketing horticulture. Welcome, Larry.
Thanks, Dr. Leka. For the next 30 minutes, I'll engage your imaginations as we talk about marketing or selling horticulture. In a recent article in Horticulture was listed on 50 degrees that you could get from the university as number 49. Now, that's not 49th toward the top, that's 49th toward the bottom. So one of the questions that went through my mind as I heard that is, who is the author? Says who? Because what I want to tell you, I think for the right people, horticulture is one of the great degrees you can get. And the key is for the right people. I'm going to challenge you today to not get too caught up in what's called the green movement or environmental movement today, but rather use your science degree to question and to think through everything that you hear. John asked, what do you think about rain barrels? And I'll just ask you to do the math on a rain barrel. What we sell in our industry is the real green. It's growing plants for a healthier environment. You heard Stu say for a more livable environment. I want to talk about why it's so important to create wow in our industry. The florists that put together this arrangement of plants in front of the lectern, there's some wow there. And those are grown as annual plants. We put them together, we ship them in, we bring them together in America, and that florist makes an arrangement that makes us turn our head. Sustainable business, sustainable is a word. And the real sustainable issue is the organization that is in charge of sustainability. Why it's important in any industry, but we're focusing on horticulture today to get the right people. So, first, I'd like to talk about what's good about our profession. You hear so many people when we're working outside in the spring tell us how lucky we are to get to work outside. And in my opinion, there's about 6 months of the year that we really get to experience those days. They don't tell us that in the winter. They don't tell us in the heat of the summer. They're not there. We are. But the other thing, for those of us with certain personality types, the work is very physical. And you think, that's bad. But if you're a high energy person, you have to be doing something. And for us, it's good. Third point, our jobs demand that we think. Now, we're engaged with our bodies, we're engaged with our minds, so we're totally engaged. Even the most menial job in our industry can be made better when we're engaged. And that really is a challenge in any industry, but in ours, to go from 49 to 48 to 40 to 30, we've got to make things better. And we are. I think Stu mentioned how much we've changed in the last 20 years. I think how much our company has changed in the 25 years that I've been part of it. We're mechanizing so many things and making them more efficient, and in doing so, raising the salaries of the people doing the work. The key is you have to have a personality that loves first being outside, loves hard work, loves being fully engaged, and for people like me that have a little bit of ADD in my personality, it's perfect. It's who I am. So what's wrong with the horticulture degree then? What's wrong with our profession? This is a personal observation. It's not based on science, but it's based on observation. First, we don't know how to sell ourselves. We have so many young people in our industry, and when they go up to sell themselves, they think their clients are worth what they are. Well, what we tell our people is that those people have more money in their wallet than you're worth. So charge the price that it should be charged. We don't know how to sell ourselves. We don't know how to market. Marketing is asking people what they want and then giving it to them. Asking people what they want and then giving it to them. And we kind of want to sell what we have instead of listening to the customer and tailoring our product to add a little bit of wow to their life. Steve Jobs also taught us, though, marketing is showing people what they'd be missing if they didn't have your product. I think of those beautiful outdoor kitchens that are being built for people now. I don't have one. I'm not going to spend that kind of money. But if people can afford it and if they want it, think of the money that they're bringing into our industry. So what do we have to do to sell a product? Well, first it has to be a good or a great product. There are a lot of things that are sold today that are pretty mediocre, and you wonder, who was the sucker who bought that? It has to be a good product. Second, you have to believe in it. And they have to see that in you with your enthusiasm for the product. And if you see the very best that our industry has to offer, it's not hard to believe in it. It's not hard to believe in it. And I think maybe I lost my battery, but it's a small room. We have to come across as credible in selling the product. We all hear the stories of the used car salesman. I remember years ago buying a little economy car that really wasn't an economy car, but the salesman said, this car will get X miles per gallon. It didn't even come close. You think about sales. Sales is solving problems. This is my third day in this building in the last few months. And every time they roll a cart across on the tile out there, you hear that loud noise. There's a problem out there. If you put a pneumatic tire on that cart, it would be cushioned going over the tile. You wouldn't hear it. We've got a problem. There is a solution. Somebody needs to come along with a sale. With everything we sell, if you can, it is my opinion, there should be a wow factor added in. Don't sell mundane. Don't sell average. We've got to make the product better. We've got to excite our customers about what we have to sell. Wow allows you to add value to your product. I grew up on a farm in central Kansas, 25, 30 inches of rain a year. You could put Miss America in the truck, take the load of wheat to the elevator, you got the same price that we would get if somebody else drove the truck to the elevator. Today, you can do that with our product and charge more. That's value added. Wow, what it also does, though, is get your clients to tell their neighbors. Now you've got somebody else selling your product for you. And when you really excite them about the outdoor landscape, the flower beds, the patio in the backyard, and they invite the neighbors over, now the neighbors are saying, who installed this? And that's what happens when you sell great. I want you to think about two words that were overused 20 years ago, but have kind of fallen off the radar, but need to come back. The first is excellence. The second is passion. Excellence is not perfection. Perfection makes you neurotic, and it's not attainable. Excellence might be approaching perfection, but it's knowing when it's good enough. You're at least meeting or exceeding your customer expectations, and you're doing it every time. That's excellence. Excellence is delivering what the client wants or more than what they want. I'd like to have you think about two identical landscapes. You've installed them, and they're identical. But you put one in for the first person, and these are twins to make the story. You put one in for the twin brother. You told him what it's going to be, what the cost is going to be. when it's going to be delivered, how long it's going to take to install, and everything is done exactly the way you said. He's thrilled because he's even getting more than what you told him he would get. Now, his twin brother across town, you tell him, this is what we're going to do, this is what it's going to be, but the busy season hits. You didn't meet your timetable, you strung the job out, you're trying to install 4 other clients at the same time, the week that it was going to take stretches out to 4 or 5 weeks. You got a muddy rain in the middle and you tracked mud here and there, and you finally got that cleaned up. So you did deliver the product that you said. But what we forget is part of our product is the service or the delivery. That second client, it makes no difference what it looks like when you're finished. He's not happy. Same landscape, one's happy, one's not. Why? We're in the service business. Part of what we sell is the experience of the service. And it's so easy to forget that. The second word is passion. Passion is how you achieve excellence. There's a fellow who wrote a book about 30 or 40 years ago, Tom Peters, In Search of Excellence, and then the second book was Passion for Excellence. In those books, he talked about that whole experience. Do you have enthusiasm for your career, your product, the subject? He said, give me a person with passion any day versus the person who's just smart. Passion is being consumed with zeal for your cause. And that's what the environmentalists have today, and that I credit them for. I'd like to take just a minute and talk about our company, Ryan Lawn and Tree. First, why are we in business? Well, our mission is serve God by helping our clients create beautiful, sustainable landscapes while we create opportunities for our customers and our associates, for our clients and our associates. Okay, the first word that's really key is beautiful. If it's not beautiful when you're done, the game's over. We aren't going to grow. We aren't going to hire more students from K-State or Johnson County Community College or any other school. The game's over. The second part is the opportunity. We really are in the opportunity business. To attract great people, there has to be opportunity for them. The pay, the benefits, the mobility, all of those things, and we try to achieve those things. Our vision is beautiful, healthy communities. Beautiful, healthy communities. Take the beauty out of it, they don't buy our service. If we don't stand for healthy, if we're using products that don't work or degrade the environment, we're going to lose. So we have to meet both of those things. Living our mission for 25 years, we have 175 full-time associates. We did over $20 million in revenue last year. We pay our associates well. They own the company. We didn't get where we are by being like everybody else. Somehow, you have to stand out. We've created a position in this city and the other cities we're in by making that commitment to stand out. I think of Rose Hill Gardens the same way in Kansas City. And what they've done on the plaza and have continued to do year after year after year. If that was my company or I was part of it, I would want the plaza, a picture of the plaza on every business card that goes to everybody. We tell people, competition isn't altogether bad. We're not playing to be number 2 in the markets we're in, but we're committed to excellence. And that's from the customer point of view, not ours. We have passion for what we do. We love it. People who don't like the job at our company don't stay. You've got to keep people whose personality fits the job. Okay, back to selling wow and horticulture. Let's take that 49th ranking of horticulture on that survey. What do we sell? What is a landscape anyway? I wanted to take you through some of the basics of landscaping and piggybacking on things that Stu said. If you can picture the concept of what we're trying to do and what you're doing for your customer, what are some of the principles? Okay, you have a house, plop down on a flat lot, the builder sods it, kind of like the house in the prairie. You buy the house, you say it's okay, but it doesn't have the pizzazz I want. So I'm going to hire you to landscape the house. What do you do for me? What do you tell me? Well, the first thing, Larry, is we're going to frame your house. What do you mean by frame? Well, you take the dream vacation. You go to southern Utah to Zion National Park. You take a photographer with you and you line all your family up together and you photograph the family in front of one of those spectacular scenes, and they are. If you haven't been there, it's the most inspiring place probably that I've ever been. Red rocks, lots and lots of red rocks and sand, but the way God put it together, it is amazing. So he takes the photograph and he delivers it to you, a big, nice photograph of your family in front of this gorgeous landscape. So you take it home and you take thumbtacks and stick it on the wall, right? No, I don't think so. What do? We create a frame for it. And the frame is really important. You want a good-looking frame that contrasts the wall. So you pick out the frame, you put a mat behind the photograph, a non-glare glass on it, put it together, you put it on the wall at eye level, it's nice and level and all that. And people come to your house and they say, whoa, what a great setting, what a great view of your family. That is a nice picture. Well, take that to your house. You frame the house first with the vertical on each side, larger trees that frame the left side, frame the right side. And I said trees. Did you hear what Stu said? Instead of planting a tree like we used to do, pin oak, 30 feet, pin oak, another 30 feet, another pin oak. In 30 years, if you look at how big they grow, they're 30 inches in diameter. They're 65 feet high in this community. So instead of planting a pin oak, we take a cluster of trees and put them on this side and put them in a bed. So again, we stay away from what we call pinball landscaping. They're in a bed. If you plant them tight, in 30 years, now I'm a forester and I grew up I went to college in western Montana where the lodgepole pine was overplanted by nature. In 30 years, those pin oaks are 8 to 14 inches diameter at breast high, the trunks, about less than half of that one tree. And they're 45, maybe 50 feet high. We talked about sustainable. If one of those trees die, you nip it out, nobody knows it except the homeowner. Everybody else driving by, they still see the mass of trees. And it allows you to do lots of wow things with the landscape and teach lots of lessons. You can have the understory plants, you can have the ground cover plants. But the maintenance of the landscape is still simple. You mow around the bed one time, just like around one trunk of one tree. That's on the left side of the house. We can do the same thing on the right side of the house. Depending on which side the driveway's on, we might make the bed smaller, the trees more columnar, or whatever. But great landscapers, it's an art. And as a forester, I'm not an artist. I will tell you that. I don't do it. But the great landscapers get it, and they do it, and they excite the customer. So, group of trees, we frame the house, except for the base. The clouds and the sky frame the top. On the base, we have that horizontal and the vertical of the front of the house, and we do it with shrubbery. We do it with ground covers. We do it with flowers. But we learn to not put the big shrub underneath the window and cover it up. That window was put there for a purpose, not to be covered up with a large viburnum that you have to prune back every year. So great landscapers, again, arrange the plants in such a way that they bring the house out and almost like make it look like it was planted in the forest. And you say, whoa, I like that. Okay, we've got the frame on the side, a frame across the bottom. Now, houses need to say welcome. And this is something I didn't understand for a long time. I can put the nicest trees, and I do like my trees, but it takes flowers, color, to get people to turn their heads to look at my trees. It took me a while to figure that one out in life, but it's a truism. So we want the flowers, the mass of flowers, by the front door. You say, well, I'm new in business. How am I? There's a lot of competition here. Focus on color. There's a whole business opportunity just with color. Maybe you tell the clients, I'll rent you the big pots. We can change them out from year to year. We'll put them by the front door. I'll put a drip system in them so it doesn't take much water. We'll keep the color there. It's zoned. But guess what? We will get people to look at your house, and that's what you want. So we're really saying welcome. Now we go to the backyard. How do we do the backyard? Well, it was old Gus van der Hoven, the K-State extension person that taught me 30 years ago. And you heard Stu say it. When you're driving through the forest, he would say it's boring. until you get to the edge of the forest. And that's where really all the excitement takes place. On the edge of the forest, you have the wildlife that lives here. They go out to the prairie to forage, and they go back in, back and forth, back and forth. So the butterflies, the birds, and everything else is on the edge of the forest. Okay, we're going to create that. Picture in your mind, you're standing on the patio, you're looking out at your yard, and you have the perimeter of your yard. If you could come just inside the perimeter and make a curved, long, flowing border. And you'll learn how wide to make it, etc., because from the border to the edge of your property, you're going to mulch that whole area. And that's your urban forest. In that mulch, you're going to cluster trees and shrubs and perennials and ground covers. And the artist's palette is really your tool. And those of you who are creative do magnificent jobs with this. It's all mulched. We call mulch artificial forest floor. Now, forester, I kind of like things to transition, so we use a lot of ground cover that eventually covers all that up, and you don't have to remulch it. Leave the leaves in it, leave the twigs that fall down as long as they're small enough and all that sort of thing. But now, when it's done and I'm standing on my patio and I'm looking out, I see what is called my space. And if it's done well enough by the right designer, it's awesome. And I've got my dogwoods blooming at certain times of the year where I look out the kitchen window as I'm cleaning up after dinner or whatever, and I see that beautiful blossom. In the fall, dogwood is the tree. It's the edge of the forest tree. Gives you great fall color, berries in the winter. Redbuds, great spring color. They don't have the fall color, but a great native plant to use. And I use some native, some not. So we really like the plant that's adapted versus all native. Because we're selling what? Wow. And if you quit selling it, they quit talking about you and your business dies. So that backyard is a real opportunity. And what we're learning now, and we're not in the landscape business, but those outdoor living areas, we're having a trouble with every generation of getting more people outside. They sit in front of the TV, they play their games, whatever they do. But you see it in states with hunting licenses and fishing licenses. They're declining year after year. People aren't using the outdoors like we do. The inside is just too darn comfortable. Can we extend those perfect days a little bit with shade trees and arbors and all the things that is our business to sell? And I think we can. But we have to educate people and not make it complicated. Okay. There's a lot to teach those clients. Talking points. You can get them talking. And one of the things is tell them a little bit about grass. It'll outcompete the tree for nutrients. And it does actually slow that newly planted tree down. Research, Dr. John Pear, the research station in Wichita, 30 years ago, you plant a tree, you let grass grow up to the trunk. Over here, you plant a tree, you keep a 3-foot circle mulched or bare. It made no difference in its outcome. The tree with grass growing up to the trunk grew 50% slower every year for the first 5 years it was planted than the one over here was a 3-foot circle that was either mulched or bare ground. Tells you how competitive grass is. So share that with your customers. They'll remember that and they'll tell their neighbors. They need simple things to talk about. Grass, I'm a forester, love my trees, but I'm learning every plant has a place. Grass will filter water better than my forest. It's the best biofilter plant out there. You can pour water on top of a lawn and go down 6 feet and hold a cup, and when it comes through, it's almost drinkable. Not necessarily true with my forest, and it's that dense root system, that massive amount of bacteria all growing there and cleaning everything up. It's the one plant, when you have water coursing across your property, it's the one plant that will keep soil from eroding. Not my forest, it'll cut a gully through the forest, but in a grassland, it'll hold the soil. Ask any farmer that has a farm in the, ours was out in central Kansas hills, the waterways were always grass. Okay, trees on the other hand, great asset too. They provide shade. I haven't gotten shade from grass lately, and you can see my face, I'm very fair, I need the shade. They store more carbon per acre than any other plant. Environmentalism, too much carbon dioxide in the air, I don't know if there is, but how do we remove it? The trees do it. They take the carbon dioxide, crack it, leave the oxygen, they store the carbon. Plant material is mostly carbon. So every tree is a big bank of carbon. Share that with your customers. Let them talk about that. Trees can live in really poor quality soil. You saw Stu's picture, I don't know if it's a bristlecone pine or something. You see it in Colorado with a lodgepole and limber pines. They'll be sitting on top of a rock and roots growing through the big boulders. Their root systems can become massive, and they can actually move rocks. That's why we tell people you don't put a bur oak or a cottonwood right next to the foundation of your house. Think about putting a tree that's going to become huge, where you want that in your property. Now, we told about the 3-foot tree and the tree in the 3-foot circle, how much faster it grows. Get some of those stories down so that you can share them with your customers. And if they can be talking about things like that once in a while instead of who won the football game yesterday, etc., that's what we haven't done in our industry, is given them things to talk about. When do you remove trees? You let it stand until it falls over? What about the drought? Is that the worst thing in the world? You know, I'm going to plant trees and treat them more like furniture. And guess what? If we have a drought in 15 years and it takes some out, that's just an opportunity for the nursery to sell me a few more. It is amazing in 5 years how established a tree can look. It's not the end of the world, and I'm not going to plan everything around drought years. Matter of fact, in a few minutes, I'm leaving here and driving to Omaha for what? An irrigation conference. We don't believe in running them every day, but I do believe in simplifying people's life so they'll get involved with the out of doors and with landscaping. Think useful life of trees. River birch, 10 years, cut it down. Beautiful bark, stack it in the guy's backyard and make everybody think he's got a woodlot. Pretty firewood, but you know, they aren't very pretty after about 10 years. The first 10 years, they're magnificent. I'm going to keep the nurseries in business. Pears, 10, 15 years. And you know, I'd kind of like to pick the day I remove it instead of the ice storm and everybody else wants you to come and cut it off of their driveway that same day. We call them tomorrow's mulch. They make a beautiful chip. People want some organic. We'll sure leave them a truckload, and it is a nice chip. Pin oaks, 30 to 50 years. You'll start seeing rot enter the trees 30 to 40 years of age. And I don't want a big, massive pin oak hanging over my house that has a big, rotted area down the center of that tree. There's a time, though, and we had a conference here last year. We called it Reforest Urban America, and everything started falling together. At what point do we encourage people to remove that tree that's become a hazard? Marketing, sales, and say, we'll put 3 in a grouping back where the one was. We're not getting rid of trees. I like trees, and we want to keep encouraging them and using even more. So let's shift gears real quick and talk about sustainability. I mentioned be careful about what you hear about environmentalism. I'm not saying don't be environmentalist. We should all be. We should use great products, never overuse them. Don't use them when you don't need them, but they're labor-saving tools. Rain barrel. John asked about rain barrels earlier. They're great for breeding mosquitoes. Okay. But the average 1,000 square foot roof produces about 630 gallons of water in a 1-inch rain. A rain barrel's 50 gallons. So how much will it actually water when you run out? 100 square feet, approximately maybe 80 square feet, 1 inch, one time. And then it's empty. You got to screw the hose off and put it on the faucet somewhere else. It's out of water. I'm not saying don't store water either, but I think we should get involved with our cities. I would love to see more and more reservoirs collecting those massive amounts of water that we get at certain times of the year and holding them for the dry times. It's a lot easier to recreate in a reservoir than it is in a rain barrel. Mineral fertilizer. Is it bad? Do we have to use organics? Well, on turf grass, good turf grass in the sun doesn't need more organic matter. It produces all it needs if it gets a little bit of in. And I'd rather use mineral fertilizer for that than organic. Now, great places for organic. All your shade areas need organics. And trees and grass both produce a lot of it, and I'm a huge believer in mulch. We use tons of it. It's all organic, and it becomes plant food. One thing we all have to buy in is bare soil. We don't want bare soil. We want it covered with something, mulch, grass, something. Because when it erodes, it's full of minerals, and that loads your water, and that's where the real problem comes with algae bloom. As an industry, we have to learn to work together. We need organic products, we need mineral products, We've got to build the industry up, though, and not tear it down. And I think that's what's been happening, and we've got to be positive about this. So, the right people. They're the challenge for the industry. You get the right people, and magic will start happening in your company. You need the salespeople. You need the people that have the attention to detail to put it all together. You need everybody. So we have to recruit people who love what we do. We have to get people smart enough to solve the problems that we have, and we have a lot of them. But with every problem, there's a solution. With every solution, there's opportunity. People need high enough self-esteem to charge what the service is worth. You don't give it away. You're selling to people who have a lot of resources, and if they don't spend it with you, they'll spend it out of Arrowhead. They'll spend it here. They'll spend it there. They'll spend a huge amount of money on a little tablet or phone. And all I'm saying is when you've worked as hard as you've worked, you deserve to be paid what you're worth. We need people who can make a decent living in this industry. They need to be paid benefits, and they need pride in their jobs. And as employers, as managers, it's your job to help them get that. We started out with the marketing horticulture and selling horticulture title, and I will tell you, our company is not 49 on any 50 list. We provide great jobs in horticulture. You don't have to be number 49 either. And that's my challenge to this industry, is get the right people, make it happen, create some magic. And it's only going to start when you make a commitment to be different. And you'll only do that when you have passion in your life. Passion for what you do, passion for living, and passion for the out of doors. And I really think it starts with a focus on helping others. You're helping your clients when you sell them these great products. You're helping your employees when you have something to sell. One of our employees in our company has a saying, and I'll end with that. It's simply, you can get anything you want if you help enough other people get what they want.